Why does this feeling strike before you even have time to think? As if your opinion wasn't needed. Why does everyone deny having it? No, 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 I'm not envious, while feeling it almost every day. And the strangest one, why does the exact same feeling push one person to build a better life and quietly eat another one alive? Same emotion, same chemistry, opposite lives. Why? I went looking for answers, and the search dragged me into brain scanners across 7 centuries of paintings and all the way back to very old murder. What I can tell you now, the fork between those two lives comes down to a single sentence you say to yourself without ever noticing it. I assumed envy was a modern illness, something social media did to us. So imagine my face when I found it in the 4th chapter of the Bible. Paradise is barely lost, humanity is for people, and the first human ever born on this earth is about to become a killer. Two brothers. Cain works the land, Abel keeps sheep. Both bring God an offering. God accepts Abel's and not Cain's. Why? The text never says, and I think that silence is deliberate because the story was never about the offerings. It's about what happens inside Cain in the next few seconds. He doesn't ask, "What did I do wrong?" He looks at his brother and he thinks, "Why him? Why not me?" Catch the strange detail here. It was God who rejected him. But Cain isn't angry at God. All that fire lands on his brother. God sees the storm coming and warns him. And this might be the oldest sentence about self-control ever written. Sin is crouching at your door. It desires you, and you must master it. Translation: the feeling has already arrived, Cain. You didn't choose it. What you do with it is still yours. Cain calls his brother out in the field and kills him, and gains nothing. Abel is gone, but God's love doesn't move over to Cain. The wound that started everything stays open. He smashed the mirror, the reflection stayed. Thousands of years later, scientists started putting people into brain scanners and found out that Cain's reaction wasn't a character flaw, it was anatomy. Before a single conscious thought forms, your brain has already run 3 questions. How similar is this person to me? How much do I care about this? And why do they have it while I don't? You don't choose any of this. The comparison just arrives like weather. Then that pain region, the anterior cingulate cortex, registers the gap. He has it and I don't. Gets filled in the same drawer as injury next to the rejection and humiliation. That's why envy lives in the body, a tightness in the chest, and not in the stomach. The amygdala joins in and asks, is this a threat? If his success reads as my place in the world just got smaller, the volume goes up, even when nothing in your life has actually changed. And at the same moment, this is the cruel part, your dopamine system lights up. Dopamine is not about pleasure, it's about wanting. Looking at that apartment, your brain whispers, this matters. I want this for us. So you're holding 2 signals in the same heartbeat. I want this. And it hurts that I don't have it. That collision is envy. And under its ugly surface, it's actually information, a pointer at things that matter to you and are missing. Envy is ache of the distance between someone else's reality and your own dream, a shadow that appears exactly where someone else's light falls too brightly on the things you secretly want. Which brings back the fork from the beginning, compass in one person, acid in another. So which is it really? Is envy a teacher or a poison? Turns out humanity has been arguing about exactly that for its entire history. And you can trace the argument through philosophy, through religion, and this is my favorite part, you can literally watch it happen in paintings. So let me walk you through it. It ends somewhere I didn't expect. The opening statement comes from evolution, and evolution votes. Teacher. Picture of tribe of 4 people. One hunter brings home more meat, another has more partners. Watching them and brewing a little was social learning software. Notice who's winning. Decode what gets rewarded. Feel the push to climb. In a world of 40 faces, envy wasn't a bug, it was a feature. The first people to explain why it turns lethal were the Greeks, who by the way had never heard of Cain. And Aristotle still described him perfectly. He defined envy as pain at the good fortune of people like us. People like us, not kings, not gods. There it is, the strange detail explained. Cain, rejected by God, went after his brother because the envy doesn't look up, it looks sideways, at the person whose life could have been yours. It's why Brad Pitt costs you nothing while a colleague earning 20% more can eat you alive. Aristotle caught all of that 2300 years before psychology could prove it, and the Greeks already suspected the feeling wasn't harmless. Then the Middle Ages arrived and delivered a full verdict. Poison. Worse, crime. The church declared envy one of the seven deadly sins, and its logic was almost elegant. Every other sin can hatch from this one: murder, theft, betrayal. Each begins with wanting what someone else's has. Cain's story written into law. Painters were hired to show people what the sin looked like, and they reached for monsters: snakes, open mouths, long tongues because envy breeds gossip. And around 3005, Giotto painted the image I can't stop thinking about: envy as an old woman. A snake slides off her mouth, curves back, and bites her own eyes. 700 years ago, a painter compressed this entire video in one picture. Envy blinds you, not to the world, to your own life. You spend so long looking outward that you lose the ability to see yourself. But the medial verdict has a side effect we still carry. Envy became shameful. And that's why to this day, we all say, no, I'm not envious, usually while envying. A prehistoric reflex forces us to feel it. A medieval reflex forces us to deny it. No wonder we are confused. It took science to reopen the case. After Darwin, emotions stopped being moral failures and became survival tools, envy turned from sin back into mechanism. Melanie Klein claimed a baby can already envy in its first months of life, not just wanting the milk, but wanting to own the source of it. And in 1954, Leon Festinger published social comparison theory with one core idea. We figure out who we are by comparing ourselves to others, constantly. Comparison isn't a flaw in a self-knowledge. It is self-knowledge. And the painters felt this shift before anyone said it out loud. In the 19th century, the monster quietly disappears from art. In its place, ordinary people. A woman gazing at another woman's jewelry. A worker watching a rich man pass. A child staring at someone else's toy. By Munch, the drama isn't even a couple in the background of the canvas. It's the face in the foreground. A man who's no longer in the room, only inside his own emotion. Across all those centuries, the monsters, the sins, the quiet faces, one detail never changes. Envy is never painted facing the viewer. It always looks sideways, at someone. Because envy doesn't begin with wanting, it begins with looking. First you see, then you compare, only then does it hurt. The entire history of this feeling is the history of a glance. And that's what makes our moment in that history so dangerous, because for all those thousands of years, the glance had a fence around it. If you were born in a village of few dozen people, that village was your whole universe of comparison. Your strengths, your looks, your popularity, measured against the people you could actually see. Yes, there were newspapers, radio, movie stars, but a movie star wasn't in competition. Different world, different rules of the game, not your life. Then we put every rival on earth into your pocket. Now the guy your age from your country with roughly your starting point appears in your hand whenever you're bored, looking more successful, brighter, more alive. And you don't just compare yourself to him, you start navigating by him like a lighthouse you never chose. An engine built for 40 faces is now fed an infinite scroll of millions, and it does exactly what it was built to do. It just never runs out of material. This one has better hair, this one is taller, this one is younger and more successful, this one speaks better, this one I swear blinks more nicely. The engine doesn't care how small the metric is. It keeps running. I'm not against the internet, it gave us the chance to be seen and heard, and I genuinely think that's a gift, but we pay for it in the same currency. Because at some point, you stop asking why him and not me, and start drawing in a bigger question. How do I catch up with everyone when everyone is ahead? That's no longer a comparison, that's a flood. And evolution is not coming to save us. It never rehearsed for this. Which brings us to the last unanswered question. Teacher or poison? What decides? Not the emotion. The emotion is identical in everyone. The difference is the sentence your mind quietly attaches to it. There's a part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, that gets its vote after the feeling has already fired. If its verdict is "this is possible for me too," dopamine becomes an engine and envy converts into motion. If the verdict is "I could never," the stress chemistry wins, motivation collapses. That's the sentence I promised you. Possible for me or I could never, same signal, the fork is the story you tell yourself about it. Which, and this is the part that gives me chills, is exactly what God told Cain at the door of the very first murder. Feeling is already crouching there, you didn't invite it, but whether it masters you is still up to you. I'll be honest, I don't have a cure. I still catch myself scrolling exactly where I shouldn't, staring at things that gives me more irritation than joy. And the wise voice in my head, compare yourself only to who you were yesterday, is right, but it's always late. Envy doesn't ask permission. When it strikes, that's not because you're a bad person or your thoughts are sinful. It's ancient machinery doing its honest job in a world it was never built for. So the only move I found is this. You can't switch the engine off, but you decide what to feed it. A short list of people to measure yourself against can sharpen you. That's a competition and it's healthy, but the list has to be yours. Written consciously, by you, not by an algorithm that makes money from your sideways glance. Because Giotto's snake never went anywhere. It still slides out, still curves back, still aims for the eyes. Stare at someone else's life long enough and you go blind to your own. So the real question was never, how do I stop envying? You won't. The question is, after all this looking at them, can you still see you?